Take a listen to what he recently said on this interview.
And so one of our goals was, once we had built up a big enough audience, could we start to broaden our mission to include things like entertainment content that was going to shape people's values from the time that they were young? So, for example, we have a children's programming unit called Bentkey that has several 100,000 subscribers, and it embodies sort of classical Judeo-Christian values for kids, where you're not worried that you're going to leave your 5-year-old in front of a TV and suddenly Miss Rachel is going to be lecturing them about Palestine. That's not going to be a concern if you watch our sort of content. So, we decided to expand in that way. Hopefully that'll be justified by the audience, and the audience will love what we're doing. If not,
and we'll just stop right there for now. So that's the kind of thing Ben Shapiro loves. Apparently now, if you turn on Miss Rachel, she's just talking about Palestine nonstop. I mean, I know she has been on her social media. She really doesn't in any of her videos, but apparently her just being a large public figure on social media advocating for children not to get slaughtered drives Ben Shapiro crazy. He can't handle that. So what's going to be better, actually, is if you watch Ben Shapiro's kids show on Judeo-Christian values and see the propaganda pouring out for this project in the Middle East called Israel. That's what Ben Shapiro wants. He wants he wants little kids to see some news network talking about how $3 billion a year is justified to be sent to Israel. That's what Ben Shapiro counts as non-propaganda content, because obviously anything that talks about and advocates for human rights for all and maybe not bombing innocent little children, too much, not a good thing, not a good look, makes Ben Shapiro furious. So let's take a little bit more of a listen to the rest of his speech here at this conference, at the Jewish Leadership Conference.
Then we'll have to stick and move in other ways, too. That's, as Bari says, one of the nice things about independent media is that you can really move quickly. You can adjust on the fly. And I just want to take a second and say how courageous it is for Bari to move back into a legacy media space, which does have disproportionate power and weight in the conversation, disproportionate resources in being able to actually ferret out the news. The dirty sort of unspoken secret about independent media and legacy media is that independent media has always been at least a little bit parasitic on legacy media. They have to rely on the reporting of legacy media because they have so many resources. So for Bari to go back into legacy media and give up the freedom and fun that independent media represent in order to actually go and capture an institution and take it back for something like sanity is an amazing thing.
Thank you.
Wow. Bari Weiss, she's apparently a hero. She's a hero because she was given a job as editor-in-chief of CBS because she was handpicked for it by David Ellison, who bought CBS. And now she's a hero for propagandizing the youth. Oh my gosh, Bari Weiss, you did such a great job. I know how difficult it is when you're basically a token because somebody wants to push pro-Israel content and they're a billionaire and they buy the news network. So now you're just hired up. Apparently it's so difficult. She's considered a hero for doing that. And as Ben Shapiro says, she's actually doing us all a service by making sure she recaptures the network, as he says it, recapturing it, because what they're feeling like is it's coming out of their control. At the end of the day, this is what all of this is about. It's about the fact that they're losing control of something that the pro-Israel crowd felt like they've had control of for so long, which is the narrative. And now that control is slipping, I mean, we hear Mark Levin talk about it all the time. He'll go publicly. Just a few weeks back, he went publicly talking about how he's going to crush any podcast. He uses the word, "You think your stupid little podcast is going to change the world? It's not going to on my watch." That's what Mark Levin recently said. And of course, that clip went viral because of the fact that it exemplifies the frustration that these people that had so much control of the narrative, just gushing out pro-Israel propaganda, are beginning to lose. So when Bari Weiss is now plopped in place as editor-in-chief, as, this just pro-Israel token piece, Ben Shapiro is enthusiastic about it because they feel like they're regaining control of something they were losing. And ultimately, it's only going to backfire. They talk about the fact, and we're pushing legislation right and left, condemning anti-Semitism, while at the same time, we have congressmen like Randy Fine trying to define anti-Semitism using the IHRA definition, which is the working definition of anti-Semitism, which includes anti-Zionism. So while they are actively purchasing out legacy media, literally, they are just buying it all out. The government is pushing anti-Semitism laws while trying to conflate criticism of Israel with those laws. And you're ultimately creating the breeding grounds for a population that just genuinely gets fed up and sick and tired of Israel for many reasons, this being one of them, because you're just pushing your limits. So part of me is honestly happy, keep doing it, because honestly, you're only going to expedite the downfall faster. I don't think I don't understand how they don't recognize that by unrelentingly shoving a narrative in somebody's face is only going to backfire and do the opposite. Megyn Kelly, a few weeks back, she said that simply because of the fact that she's getting pushed to stand up for Israel and condemn Candace and condemn Tucker, it's making her go the other way. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, she is saying something that a lot of people feel. When you push people to do something or push people to believe something, that insistence on it turns them off to it. And the more that we have people like Bari Weiss getting plopped in place, the more that the hate speech manager of TikTok was previously working in the IDF, a staunch pro-Israel propagandist. The more you place these sort of people in positions of power, you're only expediting the growing resentment towards it. So it's absolutely insane. And people on social media, of course, are saying the exact same thing. Let's just take a look at some of these tweets here. Let me go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see it. Chris quoted that video that I just shared and stated that Ben Shapiro at this recent conference tells his company targets kids with entertainment content that embodies Judeo-Christian values, so they don't have to see Miss Rachel lecturing them about Palestine, just like I said. And let's see what else is here. David Hogg said, elevate charismatic figures like Alan Dershowitz and Dana Loesch is a hilarious sentence. This is coming from a clip that Bari Weiss also previously stated at this conference. Let's see. Ben Shapiro crying about Nick Fuentes and Andrew Tate. Yes, this is related to Bari. And then again, talking about Bari, who was also at this conference. So you're beginning to see people are just really sick of this sort of forced narrative that's being imposed on them, really. Let's see what else here. We want more Dersh. People are really just making fun of the fact that she was suggesting that Alan Dershowitz, Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer, is apparently a charismatic figure. So while this is all happening, also keep in mind what's so funny is that when you look at the views and the growth of accounts like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, they're steadily growing, while Ben Shapiro's subscriber count and viewership is steadily declining because people are sick of this false narrative that's being shoved down their throats. They can clearly tell there's an agenda behind it that they don't like to hear anymore. So that's really it for this video, guys. If you found it interesting, would appreciate the support. If you could give it a thumbs up and also click the subscribe button below. It helps my channel grow and reach more people. Otherwise, I will see you guys here in a bit in the next video.